Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Tech High School Series Division 1. Again, joined by the legendary Infernosis. How are we doing today, my friend?
I'm doing very good, and I'm super excited to be brought back on once again, especially here for the Division 1 to kind of get things kicked off for the day.
Yeah, I know we don't quite have map picks just yet, but Winburn and Westmont Hilltop coming in here. Two teams that haven't played yet on the season. And then, of course, Penn Trafford and Greater Altoona. I know you casted Penn previous weeks. I did a Greater Altoona, both 1-0, both devastating wins. So I think that's certainly going to be a banger of a match.
You also have to keep in mind the map differences as well between those two teams. Penn Trafford did their 13-1 victory on the map of Pearl, which is a map that's brand new to Valorant in a lot of ways. And so a lot of teams maybe aren't as experienced on it. So maybe that's the reason for their victory, just a difference in kind of experience across the board of the map. Or maybe they just are the better team in a lot of ways. We'll ultimately have to tell when it's the two big 1-0 teams coming out together.
Yeah, certainly will be exciting a match. But first, Winburn and Westmont got to get their first game of the season out of the way, and really not much to tell yet. So I'm excited to see again what map we've seen a lot of icebox here. So maybe we'll see a little something different, but well, or maybe
Nope.
not. Survey
Tried and true.
says, yeah.
You have those
Uh,
kinda, like, gentleman agreement maps, huh, Sauce, right? It's like, "Oh, well, it's a BO1, so let's just meet on Ascent, guys. It's a BO1, let's go to Haven, let's go to Icebox." It's kind of the standardized choice when it comes down to BO1s, and I do not think it's a bad decision to go to Icebox.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of teams are really comfortable attacking A, but it's the teams that are comfortable on B that really have a lot of success. It can be harder to press there, but obviously the retake then again for that defending team can also be equally as difficult. So I look to see obviously Viper is super, super good on Icebox, but yeah, kind of interested to see what kind of team comp we'll see here today.
We always joke about that trickle down stratonomics. You see kind of go from VCT to college, the amateur scene down to high school. Kind of everything kind of takes its time slowly to reach everything. I think Viper has just always been standard, but in the high schools divisions, you kind of have to realize some players just like to play comfort picks, and Viper can be a little difficult in a lot of ways. Take a look at our standings as well. Like we mentioned, these two teams have not played just yet, so they're trying to join up in those upper echelons so far, like Penn Trafford and Greater Altoona and Greater Johnstown, to be that 1-0 record. But that unfortunately won't match for very long, Hansas, because Penn Trafford and Greater Altoona face off to see who goes 2-0 at the end of the day.
Yeah, only going to be a few undefeated teams left after today. And we can see the picks coming in here. Jet Rays. I love Rays on this map as well. You don't see her as much anymore, but of course, Sage, Sky, and Omen coming in here as well. And kind of switched on there before I could see the other team, but who do we got over there? We got Chamber, Jet, Sova, Reyna, and Viper. So no Viper here on the defending squad. We talked about how kind of been a meta pick for a long time, but we're not going to see it here today.
I also have to keep in mind there was the slight rework alongside having the Sky with their flashes and destructibility, the slight changes as well for Leers on the Reyna. That could be a very useful piece of kit and utility, no longer having that range difference. It can be essentially full map if you look at it, and it can kind of get you out. So maybe those changes are enough for them to feel it be a worthwhile pick. But I do still feel like there will be a little bit of a problem cutting down those sight lines for our defending squad. Without that Viper, without the toxic screen, it's going to be very hard to keep them at bay. Once those floodgates open, it's going to be very difficult to survive on site.
All right. Well, only time will tell. 5 seconds left here before we kick it off. And looks like we got a buy coming out from the attacking squad here, but the defensive squad's just going to kind of stock up and wait for the next round here, playing off these classics.
It's about playing a little bit further back. A lot of early pressure being gained by the side of Winver on that A site, just trying to buy a little bit of extra time coming out from the side of Westmont. That toxic screen has put in place for them, which does make the side of Westmont feel that maybe Winver will start to engage on the A objective, which is why they've sent all 5 of their players over towards A. But it doesn't look like Winver are going to engage on that side. They'll take that waste of utility for round 1, and they'll say we'll take a free open in B site instead.
Yeah, very fast push here. I mean, nobody left on the B site, really getting that whole squad from Westmont to bite over. And now they've kind of figured out what's going on. We can see that fast rotation coming in, but a little too late here as the plant will go down with ease. And again, now we'll just have a little bit of a little calm before the storm here as the action gets ready.
Cloud will eventually dissipate, but quickly replaced by the dark cover of the Omen to the side of Westmont. Unfortunately, that also cuts down their sight lines over towards Snowman as well. One player up inside two. A second one will quickly join them, and another one back in Halls. Shots trying to connect from Shadow with the Ghost. Not able to get any damage off. Instead, taking only back in return 48 to their HP. Quickly cleared away there by the paint shells. Bucky and Mr. Guerrero managed to tag themselves on the kill feed, but Shadow will eventually be finished off like expected. Tony joins their teammate on the feed as well to take down Mr. Gary, but time is running out. Spike Diffuser taken down, and it looks like we will see the attacking side manage to find themselves around win here.
Yeah, I love the confidence in Wimber here as well. We see Reyna just holding true on this A site, playing off that chamber trip as well, just, waiting for that flank to come in. So a lot of confidence here in Wimber. Great job, great job sniffing out the play here. Solid rotation plant. Nobody getting overzealous here once that bomb or that spike goes down. Just a great job holding. So one in the bag here. We'll see him force up as well, and they should be able to collect on the second one.
It's all about having patience for that kind of middle of the game. Westmont overextending a little bit too much to head back over towards that A site. They weren't able to get back to the objective in time, and because of that slight slow, that kind of dissonance in pace, Winber were easily able to put down that plant, and they were able to just hold on to it for a little bit longer, even though they were losing players quite quickly. They held on when necessary, and now they can start to apply a lot of pressure over towards that A site, only really having to deal with slight buys in the hands here of Westmont. They do have that Marshall out to maybe tag out damage, but they've been tagged instead. Redfish will find first blood, but unfortunately, they'll fall very quickly afterwards to make this an even 4-on-4 on A site.
Yeah, and Omen trying to find the flank here, trying to get around the trip as well, but it is going to get destroyed. Chamber has an idea. The shot's ringing out of Gary. Again, with that Vandal, will find one. The player advantage in the favor of Winber. Spike down a nice spray here as well. Bucky, Anjas both going to find one with those Spectres. And a great force up. Nice here, a little triple coming out from Viper as they find the three-piece 2-0 and a nice solid lead. But this next round, again, it looked like Westmont kind of forced up a little as well, so I'm not exactly sure if they're going to be able to buy here.
I mean, they extended a little bit, kind of pressing their pockets, but I think we should still have mostly full rifles for their side. We did see a Spectre we purchased for one, so maybe that was the player that kind of overextended a bit too much with an SMG, so they're forced to go for it back-to-back rounds. The good news is that Winber will still be using those SMGs they brought to that last round. If they lose anything in the process, say a player dies, or maybe they drop for something else, if anything occurs, then this could be a problem for them, saying that, okay, maybe we have to extend, maybe we have to force another rifle to kind of even out the odds. But no matter what, Westmont's bit of a pricey of expenditure in that round two could be their undoing, like you said, but it doesn't look like Winber are looking to change their strategy up whatsoever. They send one player prowling on over towards Kitchen, towards that B site, and the rest they're sending deep towards the A site already.
Yeah, a huge flank from Jet there. Mr. Gary's going to find one as well. The pressure onto the A site comes with ease, and Jet really has them kind of scrambling. We can see Omen on that lurk over toward the B site, but no one is there as Jet finds one more with a Spectre. Reyna's going to get one as well. And again, bonusing here is Winber and doing a phenomenal job at that. Omen far from the site here in a lot of trouble as we see him working his way around, and he'll be lucky to find a kill here.
That Marshall, I mean, you can get a lot of damage off, but we're looking at round 3 right now, Hot Sauce. Armor is expected to be on the board. You're not going to one-tap anybody in an unexpected fashion. Better hope that you catch someone unaware and you can tag down that head. One player watching up towards having another one looking to prowl over once again. They come out through orange now on top of tube. That's that Jet that found that first blood as well for the side of Winver. Shadow just looking to maybe tag down the last remaining player who's just biding their time as best as possible. Looking more likely than not, they should die to this spike, so they don't really need to maintain this Marshall. They just kind of bring it to another round if they feel it to be necessary. They're looking back towards Kitchen, but there is no one nearby, bar Shadow, who thankfully will be caught unaware, but like I said, that one-shot potential is just no longer there in round 3.
Yeah, so close, but not quite. Looking to hold on to the armor as well. And just kind of taking a brief peek at chat. It looks like we might have a little bit of a connectivity issue or some kind of game issue with Reyna on this attacking side. So hopefully we can get that organized. We might have a small restart coming in here.
These things happen. Well, if we come down to the restart, Hot Sauce, we can talk about that new agent that was announced this morning. I don't know if you caught anything about that, about Harbor.
I saw a little bit on it, but I've been away on some work here, so I really haven't had a lot of time to check it out. It looked like they had something to do with water there. I saw he was on a motorcycle as well. I got a quick image of the character himself, but I really don't know much, honestly, Infernosis.
Well, good news. Neither do I. We're matching in a lot of ways. I just know a slight bit about their kid. But, restart hasn't come yet, so no point in talking about it. Tony is not using their regrow to try and bring their teammate back, finally going back into it to get them back up to full fighting shape. That'll make it so there's a full frontal 3 for the side of Westmont, and that'll give them that man advantage now pressuring on towards that A side. But from the looks of things, Winver aren't necessarily pushing that objective just yet. They're actually relocating and pivoting that spike back through green and looking to maybe head on over towards the B side, because once again, Westmont send their full force over to the A side a little too early. They may lose the ability to hold on to sight because of it.
One enemy remaining.
Yeah, I think Wimber has kind of recognized that they do tend to rotate a little bit early here as well. They've done a good job of slow playing things here, kind of waiting out that clock as we see Sova now pressuring. And a 3v1, ideally going to be tough to win this round here, but at least he does get the spike down, get that extra funds as well. And we'll see if maybe he can channel his inner Hiko here and pull out something unthinkable.
Clutcher kick for the side of Winver to see if they can drive this one. It's just a really rough spot to be in, but you're in a good spot. You have a Vandal in hand, you have full armor, and you also have a couple shock darts to maybe zone these players off. If I know any Sova that plays the game of Valorant, you're probably spending most of your time in class watching lineup videos, and unfortunately, you're not going to be allowed to showcase that just yet. Cleared out from the flank all the way back towards green, and Westmont will finally pick up their first round here to make the scoreline 1-3.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is a great round. Round for Westmont. As I get all tongue tied up there, but obviously, you never want to let another team get too far ahead of you. They're already 3 rounds in the bag on this attacking side. So again, try to slow things down. They did a great job there of finding that flank, finding that final kill. So again, we have the full buys. We don't want to let Wimber get too far ahead on this attacking side. So I think this is going to be another important round for them, because Wimber really, if you look at the money there, they've kind of built that economy. They're able to come away with a full buy here yet again. And it does look like Reyna's still experiencing little problems here, though.
I mean, you got to think about this as well for the side of Winber, because Westmont forced up in round 2. They are still trying to recover from that sunken cost. They're still trying to catch up to the side of Winber. And yes, Winber does have more rounds, and that's an obvious result considering that, but it's even more apparent because of that overexpenditure by Westmont. Only peeking up by the side of Westmont, trying to retreat back over to get a little bit of a sight line. Eldof is first and foremost there, but there is no denying of that spike placement. Winber is very quick to the uptake. They're already on site. Shadow nets for the first blood, but it's very short-lived once again, as it'll be an even trade.
Yeah, that toxic screen, now the Viper's Pit as well, so crucial here. Raises boom, but not going to find anything as well. And now Omen tries to get on top here of the 2, but is going to be spotted by Reyna again. Been holding that flank as well. Viper's going to find one here in the pit. Tony needs to try to flash in and get a little intel here, but just them and Raze alone here. It's going to be a really tough retake from above. Reyna's going to find one, and Raze on the run will get caught by Reyna as well. And Reyna putting in work with the Spectre, possibly still from round 2.
No, that's the craziest part there, Hot Sauce. Reyna entered that round having only connected at the last second, right as the round started, stated that whatever they did to change didn't work because they were disconnected in that prep phase and that buy phase. They managed to get that first kill onto Monkey, who was up on top of Tube, with their classic. Then they collected the Spectre that drops, and they used the Spectre to find 2 more kills. So they come into the round having done nothing in the prep phase and still exit it with 3 frags. A very key round for the side of Winver off the back of a player that you probably shouldn't expect much from, considering they're having tech issues and all across the board. But despite that, they're still dominating.
Well, maybe those set of nasty plays means they got those kinks ironed out, but we'll find out here as the pressure now coming toward the A site, the toxic screen up here. This is why Viper is just so great on this map as well. And we see the pressure now coming in with these, trying to clear the site here. Viper's going to find one. Sage does get the trade here. The spike will go down now. We have a 4-on-4.
Still have to deal with the jet that's close to sight on the side of Westmont. Winber will have to be very careful about Randolph coming up from the flank of Elbow. It does not seem to matter on just managing to clear them fairly quickly. That gives the man advantage back in the favor of Winber. And, well, they've got Shadow once again lurking as that lone prowler all the way back over towards Hut. Managing to take down one, able to nastily take the head off that Raze. Still plenty of players to deal with, 2 more on the side of Westmont. and Shadow's in another great angle once again, but tagged down to low HP, and they're not the only one on the side of Winber. 3 players were extremely low, and the only full HP player you had's just been cleared. That was your chamber. It's just 1 player left the side of Winber. Do they have the lineup, the snakebite? They don't, forcing the Nonjas to go up with the rifle instead. They'll retreat backwards, and it will no longer be enough time for Westmont to defuse a round win by Winber, but a very close one at that.
Viper is just absolutely feeling themselves right now. I've seen a couple jump shots coming in there near 410 maze area, somehow finding the kill, the pressure in as well, finding the spike plant, really doing it all here. Gets the clutch as well. We see 9 and 1 on the board there with that Vandal. And, we talked about how just an asset she can be with the utility alone, but clearly the rifling from Viper here on this map is phenomenal coming out of the side of Winber.
You have to find value in even the smallest of aspects. And right now for the side of Winber, even though we're seeing them, like you said, they still had SMGs, they still had Spectres they were dealing with. They picked them off players before. They were recovering after a loss, and they didn't want to spend everything. They're still able to find a lot of successes with those weapons. And rounds where they lose every player, that just means they can kind of use those credits padding their back pocket that they've been charging up, considering the lead that they've maintained for themselves. And that's where these rifles are going to start to deal even more damage. Anjos with that first blood, and it's a Vandal to do it.
Yeah, the Sage Wall comes up here, but Jet is still going to be able to kill Omen here. Now trying to find some pressure onto the site. Jet able to get one more, and really, Winber is just absolutely picking apart Westmont right now. The toxic screen up as well, and the plant should follow here shortly.
Everyone's looking to extend. The Sage allows for a lot of defensive potential to keep them at bay, but once they start to get past that barrier orb, there's nothing stopping the side of Winber. There goes Mr. Gary with an operator shot, really making sure that they at least get some value, some bang for their buck out of the big sniper, the 4900 sunken cost. And Anos will start the round and end the round in favor of finding the first and last blood. And that will be a 6th round win for the side of Winber, and that at least makes sure that they break even at halftime. But considering the eco on the side here of Westmont, I'm starting to think they may not just break even, but go positive.
Yeah, I mean, Westmont's really just struggling to find an answer here on defense. And Winber really just finding those initial picks, not being too aggressive, creating that illusion of aggressiveness with a little bit of utility, and kind of getting Westmont to pull in here. They find that initial pick and they play off that. They rotate well. They're drawing in early rotations from Westmont as well with this pressure here. And unfortunately, Westmont just can't find an answer.
Yeah, first blood once again falls to Winber. It is that operator once again, and then Shadow will join their teammate on that feed. Mr. Gary pops off for their second in the round. The only player to find any success for the side of Westmont is Eldoff 26, who takes down 1, but unfortunately, every other teammate has now fallen. 3 now for the hands of Mr. Gary. There's that Lear's range being extended to make matters worse, and Mr. Gary pounces at the perfect opportunity, cementing themselves with a 4K, and, well, that is the 7th round for Winber to guarantee they're breaking positive for sure.
Yeah, phenomenal quadra kill coming in there as well. One of them coming in the way of the headhunter as well. A quick one tap to the dome, and Mr. Gary certainly firing on all cylinders now. We can see there Viper 11 and 1, Jet 8 and 5, Gary 8 and 3 as well. And the whole crew is just putting in work. Meanwhile, on the other side of things, Westmont, not a single member positive yet, kind of struggling here a little bit. We see Jet with that Marshall as well. The economy just not there, and they just kind of scraping by here, looking to find a round, and they've got to do it soon.
A team that can frag together typically wins together, and that's kind of the story that's been unfurling for the side of Winber. They have been calm and collected pushing towards these sites. They have been very calm and calculative when it comes to Mr. Gary with the operator. They're letting Mr. Gary step up big to be the first person in these engagements. They're not initiating for him either. They're saying, all right, you may not be a duelist, but Chamber basically is a duelist. Send yourself towards that site. They find the first. Shadow joins them now with 2. Their Reyna pops off for another, and would you look at it, it's Tony left standing all by themselves, and Shadow makes sure that their name will continue to be said. A 3K for them in this round, and another round won by Winber. At some point here, Hot Sauce, I expect Westmont would probably need to say it, because that loser's bonus only gives you so much.
Yeah, I mean, this is nutty, right? We've talked about Mr. Gary Unchamber with the op. We've talked about Viper absolutely being nutty. Now we see Shadow on top. Reyna disconnecting at the beginning of rounds, coming back, clutching up as well. The whole crew, you mentioned it, just an absolute juggernaut out here, playing so well together. Just fragging out here, having a great time, and really that confidence is exuberating here on the field of Icebox. Now the pressure through mid, 3 up toward B, and only Rays over here alone. We can see that rotation trying to come in, but Shadow over the mid in a hurry finds one, and now looking for more.
Phantom's out, though. Don't need the Blade Storm to get everything done. Sometimes you just need a full barrage of bullets. The Tracers back past their heads. Westmont trying to back up towards Hut. It's like no one's going to pressure Shadow inside kitchen, but Tony's going to be caught unaware. The blades were popped out, but it will not get the job done. Gio Randolph's forced to go around the corner. The operator is in hand, but they've lost their teammate to Tony at the same exact time. Inopportune moments, unfortunately, create the best opportunities for the side of Winver. The Phantom comes out once again, rears its ugly head, and Shadow comes out for Steen. A 3K to their name. Redfish on site, tries to go for another. Shadow gets the Quadra. They might go for the 5th, but stolen instead. It's fine. A flawless for the side of Winver.
Yeah, not even really worried about the ace there at that point in time, but certainly an absolute display. And I love, again, once they get that spike down, right, we maybe see one kind of hunting through, creating some confusion amongst the mix, but 4 players there holding back, holding angles, again, not getting overzealous, not trying to peek, even though they have the lead, they have the kills, certainly they could attempt, but just sticking to the game plan and playing smart Valorant.
It's a game of basics when it ultimately comes down to it, and you can tell that the basics are there for the side of Winver. They're positioning well. They're extending in maybe a little bit of a poor fashion, some would say, but considering the opponent they're facing, they brewed up that confidence. They know what they're capable of. They know who they can do it against, and they're using that to their advantage, constantly learning, constantly evolving round by round, so that they can not just dominate like they have been, but do it flawlessly just like that last round.
Yeah, and certainly if they need a quick reminder, they could just glance at the top middle of their screen, up by 8 rounds. Quite the dominating performance so far. Shadow looking to make some work again as well. Now in through kitchen as we see Viper able to secure a kill, and Reyna is actually going to sneak that one in from Mr. Gary there with that Phantom. Now 10-1 as we are just 1 round here before halftime, and Westmont struggling just to take 1 so far.
Still like to say it, the over expenditure in that round 2, the forced buy by Westmont, may have cost them more than they expected. Since then, they have been struggling to get the economy under their belt. They've been able to purchase maybe 1 or 2 rifles around, a little bit of armor, and their utility at best. Westmont needs to do a little bit better job of kind of seeing the game on a macro level, saying the round by round is okay, but you got to see to the next round and the round after that at the same time. And that just comes with experience, a little bit more game time. And they're finding that right here. Even if you lose to a dominating performance from another team, you're always learning something here, HSS. You're always saying, hey, there's the next game. We're learning from a dominant opponent. Let's be like them the next time. Let's figure out how we can start to counterattack this, counterplay this, and just do better around game by game.
Yeah, I mean, this is going to be some great footage, some strategies as well, not just to learn and put under their own belt, but to learn how to counter here. And now the Hunter's Fury coming out as well. We see Bucky trying to find something here through screens, but again, clearing the site with ease. We see 2 on the flank here. Omen being the one leading that charge, and can't come up with one here. He's going to be spotted out due to that sound cue as he tries to get up into the nest. The help from Sage will find one now on a 3v3 and get traded out again. Reyna popping off here with a triple. 1-player advantage here still for Winver.
And on top of the world, a 4K again. And it's going to be completed for the ace. The first time we've seen an ace. We've had flawlesses. Winver denied of that one, but he put another stat on our stat sheet to say the very least. Winver, a dominating performance in that first half. If they take the pistol, you'd expect the bonus quickly afterwards, but anything can change. Westmont now on the attack. For a fickle map like Icebox can be, anything can happen.
Yeah, Reyna, again, we talked about her having a little bit of connectivity issues, but now 12-3, and everybody on this leaderboard fighting for the top there. We see Vipers only died at 1 time this game so far. So as you mentioned it, typically if you win that pistol round, you go on to win the next one. So I feel like if Westmont wants to have any chance at making a stand or changing up the scoreboard a little bit, it's going to start certainly here with the pistol round.
Gotta get the momentum, the ball rolling early. If you're on the side of Westmont, you need to go for that first kill. Unfortunately, a shrouded
Oh,
step almost cost Monkey their life. Unfortunately, Mr. Gary will not hit the headhunter shots necessary to punish the player for their slight overextending of themselves. Lost Esports able to take down the first player for the side of Winber. They're knocking down Gio Randolph just a little bit closer. They'll find a second now there into Eldolf 26. And it looks like Westmont are now absolutely pinned inside green, forced to start to extend towards that B site. Bucky on the back of Yellow Crate, able to take down one before being removed themselves. It's just Monkey left standing, though. Not the best position to be in here, Hot Sauce, but only 2 players left to cut through. It's all but possible. They just need to make sure they're staying alive in the process. Paranoia is out, trying to tag down the poor player retreating backwards. That is Lorena, who had already found a couple in the round, but denied of that in emphatic fashion as Monkey now has 3 and has cut it down to a 1v1.
yeah, some beautiful shots there from Monkey to secure that. A nice blind, almost got caught off guard by the Reyna there, but the blind coming in, that right click almost coming back to Hanum, finds the kill, picks up the Sheriff, but in a duel here with Anjas, will get shot down. And now Winber finds themselves at match point, as Westmont has been only able to take a one round so far. And up until that round, I didn't know Mr. Gary could miss a shot. He's been phenomenal all day. Struggled a little bit there with the headhunter, and but nonetheless, his team able to clutch it up.
This would be a great way, Hot Sauce. We mentioned both these teams coming into this one 0-0. This game would be a great way for Winber to cement themselves as that team that's undefeated here at the very beginning of the season, saying, hey, we're up there with the likes of Greater Altoona. We're up there with the likes of Penn Trafford, who also went 13-1 in that map against Pearl. Can we do the exact same? Looks like they're going to be trying here. They're shooting the Marshall shots out. Shadow's able to get a little bit off, but nobody is tagged. Randolph back on the other end, though, tags Shadow down and humbles them through that Viper screen. They'll survive for now, but that's a lot of damage, and they do not have the potential to heal it.
Yeah, just kind of hanging out. Again, just being very patient. We see Monkey able to find one on Jet and secure that one. Just kind of tagging, getting that early damage with those Marshals. We see the pressure from the Spectre as well, now pushing up and trying to secure some of those kills. We have Reyna half health now. And really Westmont, though, able to heal completely up. Viper is going to find one with that Marshal. A wall goes in place here, but I'm not sure about this wall, actually. I feel like it could hurt him a little more than it helps him.
And nobody's close enough. The spike carrier's not there and available. They're lagging behind just a little bit further. All it takes is Mr. Gary to step up big. 2 off the board, all headshots. The headhunter lives up to his apt name. Mr. Gary will swing back around the corner and send the last player of Eldolf straight to their grave. A 13-1 scoreline for the Winver side and a dominating performance to put themselves and cement them, or I guess ice, solidify them. We'll find a pun for this one, Hot Sauce, at the top of the leaderboard to tie out with the rest of the squad for at least now.
Yeah, Mr. Gary, didn't want to go out like that in that previous round, and really, because I just said, throw some respect on my name coming in. 2, not 1, but 2 dirty headshots with a headhunter, able to finish off the third for the triple kill to wrap it up as well. And you mentioned it, just an absolutely dominating performance from Winber. And we've seen so far, really all of these undefeated teams have gone to be 13-0, 13-1, somewhere along those lines. So I think really these next couple weeks are going to be very, very interesting. Certainly our next game is going to be even more interesting. As you had mentioned, both of these teams 13-1 roughly, Penn Trafford and Greater Altoona CTC. So I'm excited for this next one.
Yeah, this one's going to separate the Giants, right, from the rest of essentially everyone in the league for this Division 1. We'll have to wait a little bit longer to see necessarily how the scoreboard turns out ultimately, but this will be the one that determines those undefeated teams kind of striking out, striking big maybe. And I'm more curious about to see what map it's going to be. I mentioned before Penn Trafford took us to Pearl, which obviously is the newest map and some teams are uncomfortable with. Maybe they pull something out here once again and don't go to that gentleman's agreement handshake map that's expected, like Icebox, Haven, Ascent. So I'm looking forward to that decision.
Yeah, I see a lot of the other teams kind of banning Pearl off rip. So I did get a cast 1 Pearl myself so far this season. So it does come by from time to time. As you had mentioned, there have been some changes with Fracture as well. So it would certainly be pretty cool to see that map out there. I won't be mad if they pick Icebox. Ultimately, it's their decision. But I certainly would be very excited to see anything other than Icebox at this point.
And these players like to build a level of excitement. They like to kind of hype not just themselves up, but the game as a whole to kind of build that pressure. They kind of thrive in these environments. That's why the young blood are the next generation here, Hot Sauce, to kind of bring into that professional scene. They like that pressure. They like the heat, so to say, and they're looking to thrive. If you don't like the heat, get out of the kitchen. And they like the heat for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, Penn Trafford, you said that was 13-1 for yours as well? Yeah, and
Yes.
I believe Greater Altoona, that was the one I had casted. I think that one was actually a little bit closer. Now I'm looking at my sheets from last week. I think that one actually ended up being a 13-6. So maybe not quite as a strong showing as Penn Trafford. So maybe they're the one to beat, but certainly we will know here in just a few moments as we get going. But again, team composition is going to be huge as well. I think that Viper was kind of a big difference in that last game for Winber as well. Just really it created a lot of space when they were, attacking, a lot of pressure for them as well. So team comp can be everything in these.
Yeah, and Sage is of hefty importance for a lot of teams on the attack, but defensively, a lot of teams can kind of struggle to find where they want to use and utilize it best. The barrier orb and just wasn't found to its greatest of success on the defensive side. I think that was one of the biggest weaknesses that they were running into. Without that toxic screen, like you said, there's no great way to cut down sight lines. And every single time that barrier orb was placed, they just went around it. They didn't waste time trying to break it down and give themselves a tight alleyway to work through. That's a fatal funnel. That's it. We'll go through the bigger gap that's open to the side because it's just slightly too small to completely cover those gaps. So they're unfortunately having to bear that full frontal force just right in their face, up close and personal where they were thriving. But that was kind of how the game went down. The 13 score line goes to the side in favor. And well, that was all we had for game one. I think we're taking a quick break before game two, though, Hot Sauce. So we'll send to that one. I'll be right back with the big matchup of Great Altoona versus the side of Penn Trafford. We're back, everybody, with more from the Tech High School series. My name is Infernos, joined here by the oh so eloquent Hot Sauce. We're super excited to be back and ready, especially after that first game. There was a 13-1 victory for the likes of Winver versus the Westmont Hilltop side. Now we've got Penn Trafford went 13-1 last week on Pearl, and the side of Greater Altoona, who I believe you said went 13-6 last time as well. So two really solid teams coming in.
Yeah, two undefeated teams. So finally, maybe two teams that are a little bit closer in skill as well. And no icebox this time as well. Certainly going to be on Bind this time, and kind of a favorite map of mine as well because I used to main Raze. I know we kind of talked a little bit beforehand here, but I'm excited for Bind. We don't have to watch icebox one more time. And what are some of the comps you think we might be looking at here?
I don't know, when you're talking about a map like Bind, you can do a screen. It is not Icebox, it is Bind. Look at the letters on the top. A map like Bind, like you said, you do expect to see a Raze come out. You do also expect to still see that Viper, but we also saw a notable lack of Viper when it came down to the map of Icebox. You'd expect that in that last match. So maybe more comfort picks. A little hard to kind of guarantee compositions here for high school, but still, Viper is very popular, so it can be somewhat popular, though not picked very often on this map. You do like to see the Rays. You do like to see Fade as well come into the composition, though. Once again, it's very hard to see that in the high school division. And you also see quite a lot of chambers still where they have that rendezvous potential from that B over towards A, though the trademark has been somewhat limited, having that slight expenditure, only having one in the back pocket, as well as the increased cost of that Hunter. I still think we'll probably see Chamber be brought out.
Yeah, I actually really like Sky here as well. I think not just for the flashes, but just the intel that the flashes can provide as well, letting you know whether a team is pushing up long or different things like that. There have been some recent adjustments to the flashes, both KO and Sky as well. But we'll see if that affects anybody's decisions here as we head on over to the character picks.
You also noted Reyna's Leer has an increased range on it, basically completely maxed out. You have to clear from almost any angle. And Reyna was somewhat popular for this map as well, especially if you were to play a Jet. Reyna was very popular to kind of get out the gates using that Leer, and it just allowed for a little bit of an extra kind of ease of entry when it comes to pushing towards that A site. Does not look like either side's going to be going for it. Penn Trafford locked in the sky. They have that Brim. The Fade is being locked in for both sides as well. The Rays will be employed, and that Chamber I mentioned before. For the opposing side here, Greater Altoona, it looks like they're going to go over that Fade like mentioned. That Rays, it looks like Snarf will lock in the Omen. A Jet is in place, so a double duelist composition. And might as well throw in essentially a third duelist as Chambers also on the board.
Yeah, I mean, Chamber has the blind there, but really not many blinds coming out for this attacking squad for Greater Altoona as well. I feel like the comp for this defending squad for Penn Trafford is only slightly better. Obviously, things are a lot different in the high school divisions as well. But if I have to go just by things on paper, I'm slightly in favor of Penn Trafford here.
I think they have a much better initiating lineup considering they have that Sky, they have the Guiding Light, they have the Tasmanian Tiger for early intel, and on top of that, they have that Haunt and Prowler to create some space as well. That's a lot of util that needs to be cleared actively, and that draws the reticle, draws the sight line of those players down and further to try to clear out that Tiger and the Prowler, and that gives time for those players that are following behind that to gun them down. Quarter sends out the Tasmanian Tiger, M&A swings. They send out the Prowler, M&A swings. They have the really solid agent selection that allows for them to be aggressive on the defense and even more aggressive on the attack.
It does look like they are lining up a little bit toward this B side here and really kind of five stacking outside of Hookah. Might just look to strong arm this one in.
Slow and steady was usually the pistol round forte, but a lot of teams, especially with a very aggressive duelist lineup like we're seeing coming out here, could be an entirely different story for the Altoona side. Looks like they're starting to step up through hookah. One was pressuring towards B long, and Quarter puts an end to that very quickly. Claw's already dead.
Yeah, Sky is so good over there on B long, as we had kind of mentioned a moment ago. And just not only for that intel, but if they begin to push, you can kind of re-flash and re-peek off that, able to find that first pick there. And now with the player advantage, we see the rotation coming in here from Greater Altoona, looking to push up toward the A site. Rays is going to be tucked into the corner here behind the tank as well. Quarter's going to find one more. Shots are ringing out frantically. Has a little bit of help from Chamber here, and Chamber will secure that. Meanwhile, over on the A site there, M&A will find one onto Bane. They have the 3-player advantage now, and Snarf creeping around with a frenzy. Does find one M&A on the trade, and the nades come in. It's all down to Rays here for this attacking team, Greater Altoona.
Can we just talk about Snarf's kill there for a second? That frenzy flick to take down one. What a nasty shot. And unfortunately, not able to spray down to a second. The frenzy's limited kind of magazine makes it difficult. Yoshiono, last player left standing, like you mentioned. They're able to take down Gunzer. They got a lot of damage off to Quarter, but not able to close the job. Quarter instead gets that headshot kill with the Ghost. And round one will ultimately fall to the side of Pentraver to cement their name first here in this undefeated matchup.
Yeah, I've seen some people have some crazy luck with the frenzy. Usually it's more bad luck when I use it. Again, just because the spray comes out so quick. Occasionally you can find 2 kills with it, but a lot of times you find yourself kind of in a troubled spot. You really can't kind of jiggle peek and single fire, much like some of those other pistols. So for whatever reason, I can't quite use the frenzy that well, but Omen certainly doing great with it there. Again, kind of stacked toward the B side here. This time split a little bit. A nice 3-2 split toward the B and 3 pressing toward Hookah. Chamber waiting just outside. And right now, Penn Trafford stacked over here in a 3-2 themselves.
I feel like Greater Altoona really like to pressure this B site in these early rounds. They'd only sent one over towards that B long just last round, and they unfortunately lost Claw quite early. Claw thankfully comes out alive with at least 1 kill this time around. Quarter was the player to do so with an even trade. They extend out of Octagon and over towards the majority of B site, and they actually flush down the rest of that Penn Trafford side, giving them the man advantage. But keep in mind, Claw is quite literally 1 HP. Not much to work off of, but still 2 full HP players backing them up, ready to go. The Roomba of Death will be swung up very quickly. Quick use of the boost pack to try and extend past to the doorway here in back halls to make sure nobody over inside Hookah can clear them. Claw with their 4 HP is able to rendezvous out of the very precarious situation, positioning themselves over in B long, and unfortunately that's where they'll be staying for the rest of this round. Cleaned up by Pillow. M&A will go ahead and tag down that diffuser for just a second, tag it just a little bit further. Sneaking it's not going to be a big priority for them. Yoshiono takes down M&A, and Snarf takes down Pillow to close things out for a tied 1-1 position.
Yeah, it looked like they had forced up there, but maybe they just gathered some of those weapons actually with those classics, because Ray's still at 5,800 and just a phenomenal second round for them. The economy now just a complete opposite from what we had saw. We're going to see a couple shorties coming out here, maybe a couple members sticking with those classics. But again, we saw Brim flirting with the idea of the Spectre, but if they force up here, it's not going to be a good force. It's definitely going to be detrimental for later rounds. They're going to want to make sure that they're able to buy here in the coming round.
It's a lot of expenditure to go not in their favor, essentially. So we'll have to see. It's kind of the same problem we saw there in Icebox just last game, where kind of pricing up in round 2 cost you the rest of the game. Does not seem to be the case so far for Greater Altoona. They're coming up big first blood as Claw will take down Pillow. Yoshiono looking to extend over towards site. Bane will go an updraft on top of Truck to maybe get a dominant sightline, but that dark cover placed by their own Omen cuts down their view for now. M&E is able to take down one, but it was only an even trade as Lottie will find them at the same exact time. Gunzer with a little bit of tank damage. The Classic not able to close out, and it looks like this round will fall to Greater Altoona inevitably in the end.
Yeah, just simply being outgunned here. They are able to find one. Ideally, you look to get at least one, but hopefully at least 2 to kind of hurt that economy, take some guns away from the opposing team. But all in all, not a horrible eco round, as we see him now able to find that full buy. Of course, M&A, they're not quite able to get those heavy shields as well, but maybe a little Rays battle ensuing ahead of us here. Yoshiono 5-1 on the board as well. We talked about how well both of these teams had played in their first game. Penn Trafford slightly better, but now 2 highly talented, undefeated teams going head to head, and I'm excited for this one. It's going to be a great one.
A lot of excitement to continue to brew up, though. A good idea, honestly, in the end, for Penn Trafford to save out in that last round, really only bring in classics, realizing, hey, we made a big mistake in round 2, allowing that one to be given up to the Greater Altoona side. We'll try to give up the shortcomings. We're not going to overexpend ourselves, not step past our boundaries. Play a little bit smarter, though. Guns are not in the best of positions, not where you want to be whatsoever. Trapped through TP, 2 players bearing down your throats, but at the same time, hello on site takes down 1, and you've got a great lineup for 2 if you're Quarter, knocking down Claw and Yoshiono. Gunzer survives the onslaught for 1, can't survive the second, but that's the last player left standing here.
Yeah, I mean, Gunzer just being in that portal alone was enough to be an annoyance. We saw it really held back 2 members from this attacking squad, focusing all their attention onto that portal and still just able to kind of bust out of there, find a kill before he's traded out. And now we have this 3v1 retake here. Should be a fairly easy retake. Could lose a member or so, but there's no reason, ideally, that Penn Trafford shouldn't clutch this one up.
Could be a miracle coming out from Zloty. They're able to find 1, but there goes M&E to close out the round. Great position, and the defuse will ultimately come through for a Penn Trafford round win, like previously mentioned. And that ties things out in a 2-2 fashion. They did drop 3 rifles in the process in a round where they had to save before to take it. Maybe you should expect that they don't have the best of economy heading into the next round, and the same will not be said about their unfortunate counterparts of Greater Altoona. They'll be able to full buy here in the round, maybe a couple players with an SMG, but past that, they're looking quite nice. And Claw doesn't even need to buy. They have the tour de force here in the round, as they have their ultimate ready.
Yeah, I mean, we've already seen a couple ties here just back and forth early, even in some of these full buy rounds. So, I'm excited. Both of these teams playing very well here early, 2-2 as we head in. And right now, this Greater Altoona team has done a great job of going to that 2 site where they're splitting 3-2. They kind of always find themselves in advantage. However, this time now pushing into the 3, we see the Fade all coming into play here as well. And most likely will push off of this. Guns are in a tough position. Will get killed by Zatati here. And now the pressure will ensue. Pillow's going to find 1, tucks him in here. A nice headshot on the Snarf, too, in bathrooms here as well, as M&A might have spotted the gun of the Tour de Force, but it doesn't look like it. Now that dog will find 1 into the cubby here. Pillow able to just buy some more time. The rotation coming in. Claw's going to find 1 with a Tour de Force. 1 now tucked into the bathroom. No longer with that player advantage, and the decay will ensue.
Quick use to kind of extend themselves over towards site. Greater Altoona in a good spot, but TP is ensued, and they're going to move themselves on over towards the B objective. A player to meet them, though. Quarters up close and personal against the only player of Bane left standing, and they're quickly expended as you'll find yourself now into the defuse for the side of Penn Trafford. 3 players surviving, they thriving, and they will finally go up in the round. Count 3-2 will be our scoreline.
Yeah, Quarter was actually mid-rotation toward that A side. If by any chance that Greater Altoona could have hold off just for a few more moments before hitting that portal, it might have worked out. But just great positioning. Obviously, timing is everything. Quarter remaining patient, just slow walking up, finding the kill onto the planter as well. And now they find themselves back in the lead here after a little bit of a rough start after winning that first round. Quarter has 6 on top with the Phantom. And again, Guns are unable to get that full shield, but kind of surprised that maybe Quarter doesn't buy for them here. Or did he survive that previous round?
Quarter survived the previous round.
Okay.
Quarter was the player who got the final kill, I believe. On B side there in the bin. I believe so. Quarter was always playing and lingering over towards the B side as well. Quick rotate through back holes. Once they hear that TP, a lot of communication from Penn Trafford. Maybe one of the reasons why Hot Sauce we're seeing a lot of success from this squad as a whole. As communication is not just this small part of the game for Valorant. You constantly have to communicate, constantly have to be there ready for your team. If you have a shortcoming, a teammate is there to back you up, and that's indicative of all that trust that's been built up in your squad.
Yeah, Sky is so good on this B side. We see those key flashes coming in. Now the triple kill as well. Brim's going to find 1. And Sky is hungry. The quadra follows. And a beautiful 4-piece to wrap it up. Quarter just doing a phenomenal job on the B side. Utility and all. And Penn Trafford finds themselves up by 2 as we head into round 7.
This is where the things start to get a little ugly if you're a Greater Altoona player. The eco not entirely there, so how do you play out this round? You just lost the last. Do you save out, or do you still decide to force to keep things up? And for the side of Greater Altoona, the idea is still there. They still view this one as capable despite not having all 5 with rifles. They're going to go ahead and extend Showstopper. Could be employed as well for Yoshiono to kind of give themselves an opening frag. There's no one really giving up that space just yet on the side of Penn Trafford. Pillow is the closest player available playing towards U-Haul, and that's where they'll be staying as Claw makes quick work of them. M&E is over all the way back towards Showers, and with paint shells at the ready, they can also send them back that direction to buy a little bit of extra time. But a lot of noise being made with util and feet inside of A shorts, and that will move the rest of Penn Trafford very quickly to try and defend that A site.
Yeah, Faye did a good job of keeping them over there on the B site. The spike, however, maybe resting a little too long there. Chamber having to go back and pick it up. Can't find the plan, as well as M&A is tucked into bathrooms here. The paint shells ring out. The blind comes in, though, and M&A will have to tuck into the corner. Now looking to swing with that Phantom. Still has the Boomba in the repertoire, as Snarf's going to get blinded. Finds the kill anyway. Quarter. Nice trade here as well. Brim looking for more as the squids go out. Bone Claw both able to find one. Chamber all alone here with that Torto Force is going to find one, and that is Snarf who falls. Claw with that plant. As Gunzer drops down on the pressure, now in a 3v1. Unfortunately, nearly misses the shot on the Bane. And just like that, Penn Trafford will catch another.
You lose your fade early. Pillow falls first, and Penn Trafford's rest of the team will quickly join them in the afterlife. Not having the Haunt to kind of close things out, not having the Prowler to create extra space, created a lot of problems for the side of Penn Trafford and a retakes potential and a site hold in general. And even though the weaker weapons were there for the side of Greater Altoona, they come out clutch and they come out victorious. A much-needed round win for them to bring things just a little bit closer. Our scoreline only being 4-3, just one round of a buffer between these two squads. But that could change at the flick of a dime here, Hot Sauce, as it looks like instead of pressuring towards A, we'll see Greater Altoona start to re-pressure back towards B like we've seen before.
Yeah, Sky tucked in here, though. Quarter, who has been the absolute raid boss over here, finds one more. Plenty of flashes here. Now able to repeat, gets a second one on the long fade. The only member remaining over there who does finally get that trade. That's going to be Zlati there. Now they see the Molly coming in, trying to buy a little more time, but the rotation already coming in pursuit here back toward the A side. And all they'll have to get through is Raze, who is being manned by MNA, and she certainly has the skills to hold this push off, but it's going to be coming off this first rifle battle here. It's going to be crucial if they can pick off Jet, most likely the smokes, and then dashing onto site. We see the portal as well, and now MNA should have an idea that the pressure should be coming.
It's all about how to recover now on this site. Slaughter will go and toss a hot way over the top, trying to get a little bit of extra intel. MNA's not snuffed out just yet. Able to quickly avoid line of sight. Unfortunately for them, Snarf was lying within that dark cover to the best Stu impression from CSGO. Snarf's able to find themselves a second and very quickly finds themselves a third. Gunzer's the last player left standing for Penn Trafford. Bane has the crossfire all the way over towards U-Haul, and Snarf is now going to relocate over towards Heaven. Not a good spot to be in if you're Gunzer, but you've made a little bit of quick work of one. Make it two! Gunzer exits this round with a 3K, and a great one at that to close out and clutch the round in favor of Penn Trafford.
A huge clutch as well from Chamber, and I think Chamber in the previous round on the opposite team. So some big Chamber plays coming in here early. We talked about Quarter being 13-4, really being that Raider boss, but this time it's Gunzer who comes in with a big play, and ideally, that round should have went in the favor of Greater Altoona. They had the manpower. They kind of swung separately as well. And you want to make sure you're playing together when you have that advantage. You've got to find a way to get that trade and secure those rounds when they're in front of you like that. You certainly don't want to let them slip away, especially to a talented team like Penn Trafford.
Talent is everything at this point. And on top of that, when you have talent, you can follow it up with hard work and perseverance. And even though Penn Trafford are unfortunately kind of squandering a couple rounds when they have the gun advantage and things along those lines, they're still coming back with a vengeance, and they're not squandering the opportunities given to them at face value. They're able to lose first blood here in the round, but they gain it back pretty quickly with Gunzer there on Bane. Gunzer gets unfortunately kind of hit with the Prowler and cannot see very much of that short-sightedness, and Slotty will find them in return. Emily and a Hello able to find another on the board, but things are even back up once again. It is a battle of giants on this site. The dark cover dissipates in Quarters in a great spot, but Snarf tags them instead. Just one player left standing. A paint shell possibly in play. Should it be available? But Emily has already used the majority of their kit. Only the Satchel 1 remains. And both players on the side of Greater Altoona lagging behind towards Elbow. biding their time, waiting for Imini, the player, to extend outwards and try to feel that pressure as time ticks away ever in favor. Essentially a 3v1 as Father Time bears down the throat of Imini. They're trying to swing back to elbow, tagged once again. They're not aware both players are there, assuming that if there's one, there's none elsewhere. No one to join, and there goes Slotty to close out this round. A thrifty round win and a dominant one by Greater Altoona.
Yeah, it looked like Quarter actually kind of thought that they had got that kill, spraying down there. They had flicked off, and then it was Omen trading them out. So I think maybe initially they thought that they had got the kill with the Phantom, and that's most of the times why I'm a favor of the Vandal over the Phantom, just because of that kill potential there. But unfortunately, not working out in the favor of Quarter. We see him going to go ahead and see if they can channel their inner Deagle Demon with this Sheriff here, and I love me some good Sheriff plays.
Oh, you love to see players pop off of that. Also, Headhunter plays. We saw a gorgeous one just last map on Icebox. Maybe Gunzer can try to bring something out here as well. Slotty denies 2 very quickly. That's Imini and Pillow off the board. Gunzer tries to do their best thing to clutch up this round as well, but can only find 1 before acquiescing their life just as quick. A Quarter up on top, and Heaven on this A side has a great overview over towards Showers, but well, side control is still in favor of the side of Greater Altoona, and Snarf deals with him quickly. A hello from the back of Metal takes down Snarf in the refrag, but that's all they'll net in the round as Bane closes and secures a tying round result for Greater Altoona.
Yeah, hello. Unfortunately, not looking left there at all. Doesn't check the angle, and just an easy secure there for Bane. Now all tied up 5-5, which I believe is the third time already tonight that this game has been tied up. Snarf really falling into place here, maybe struggling a little bit early game, but now back on the top of that leaderboard for his team. Quarter, of course, 13-6 as well. Got to go with the Bulldog, and an underrated weapon, certainly, but it seems like from this defending team, from Penn Trafford, now we've seen a little bit of tough with the economy and a few different scrap buys coming out here. They've got to kind of get it on the same page, or this could quickly come back to haunt them. You don't want this to snowball.
Momentum is a fickle mistress. It can work for both sides. It's playing both edges, always staying out on top. That's kind of the problem that we're seeing right now. Tour de Force has been utilized here by Gunzer, but they lose their teammate of Quarter on sight. First blood given up once again to the side of Greater Altoona. Gunzer will do their best to try and refrag back. They succeed under their chamber doppelganger of Claw. They'll lose Imini just as quick from the player of Bane. Slotty denies a hello's pressure from Elbow. There goes the Nightfall very quickly onto side. It gets a lot of tag off, but that's it. Another player falls, you lose the Tour de Force, and it's just Pillow left standing with nothing but a judge. What are they supposed to do here in the scenario? Well, hope and pray may be all they can do. They'll try to swing back around. They'll tag down Snarf, but Snarf is victorious nonetheless. A 3K in the round, as you'll see Greater Altoona climb again.
Yeah, nice judge shot. I mean, we saw him get down to about 30% health there, but in the end, just not enough. The distance too much as well. And we talked about those economy issues, and we see it here again. They're able to force up here. It looks like M&A won't quite have full armor. And again, you got to wonder about the utility as well, but the economy just not there. And if they can't, luckily, they've made it to the final round of the half, but again, this is going to be an important round, kind of get momentum before going into that second half. And we've really seen Greater Altoona kind of swing things around here lately.
I mean, last round of the half, this could be the part where we see it go 7-5 in favor of Greater Altoona. They're going to do everything they can to secure that. Tour de Force is popped. Ultimates need to start being expended. From the shadows is popped by Snarf, closed out by Pillow. Slotty were refragged back, but Imini Showstopper comes out on top. And a man advantage now netted in favor of Penn Trafford. And they still have another ultimate to work with. They have the Orbital Strike should that spike attempted to be placed. The Seekers have been sent. A little bit of information garnered off the top. Gunzer may fall, but Quarter once again gets a refrag back. They lose Quarter up in heaven from Claw's Tour de Force, making this one an even 2-on-2, but Claw only has 30 HP to their name. The Orbital Strike will be placed over towards U-Haul, and Imini will secure the kill onto Bane, leaving just Claw all by themselves with little HP truly to work with. A lot of noise should be made towards the site. The spike fully in control for the side of Penn Trafford, and that will secure themselves a 6-6 half as a hello cuts down Claw quickly.
Yeah, unfortunately, that spike just going down in a very bad position there, just outside of bathroom. Not much Claw could do. Had a couple nice shots there with that tour de force, but again, we saw M&A just being very, very patient with Hello as well, just holding that site, holding the angles. They knew what they needed to do to secure that round, and they tie things back up for the fourth time here tonight. So, right, we're back at it, even playing field. Typically, I feel like this can be a strong defensive map when you have a good squad, but the rotations, unless you have a chamber or such, the rotations can be pretty far. So as long as they're able to pressure on the site, guess correctly which site has two members, they can find themselves in an early round lead here.
You also have to keep in mind, I mentioned it before at the start of the game, the initiating potential for the side here of Penn Trafford is just natively higher than what Greater Altoona would have been capable of bringing to the table. It's going to be really reliant once again on Greater Altoona finding those first bloods and giving themselves a man advantage before engaging, or engaging back as they're defending this time around against the attack of Penn Trafford. And Penn Trafford can play their own game. They can play slow, do the exact same thing before dumping util towards site. Round one, not indicative of how they'll play the rest of the half. There's not much util to work off of due to that limited credit count when you start things off. And to make matters worse, they've already lost their first two players, and Snarf makes sure that there's a third and then a fourth quickly to join. It's just Gunzer left standing.
Yeah, Snarf is dirty with that frenzy, putting in some work here. Gunzer, though, able to find one from Hookah, but just in a tough position there. Will get traded out by Zalati, and round number one of the second half will go to Greater Altoona. And again, we talked about a little bit of a score difference there. 13-6, I think, was Altoona's first, and Penn Trafford, that big blowout, 13-1. But certainly Greater Altoona showing that they have what it takes to remain undefeated. And obviously anyone's game at this point. But, when you secure that pistol round, the latter rounds tend to look nicely. We'll see them force up here, and we'll see if they can come away with another big one.
It looked like Gunzer was tempted to buy a Spectre for a moment there, hot sauce, but kind of thinking better of it, not wanting to let that eco kind of stray away from their hands so far. A little bit smarter of a playstyle for them. We have to also be careful as a chamber for those headhunter shots being quite pricey nowadays, as Riot has kind of crippled you just a little bit further to make sure chamber's a little less prevalent in the meta. Has not done too much all in all, but great defensive structure still in play for the side of Greater Altoona. Bane with that Sheriff in hand all the way over by U-Haul, and Yoshiono up close and personal with that Spectre. Quarter swings that corner a little bit too wild, and Yoshiono will humble them in the process. Quick shots with the Spectre, and first blood once again in favor of the defense.
Yeah, just a great job there by Rays to remain patient. Had spotted him out previously with that Roomba as well. So a great job to remain patient in bathroom. We can see him trying to pressure a little bit toward A short here, but not able to find any ground as well with that Omen Smoke. We see Fades Hot coming over as well. But not much intel there as well. They're having trouble finding a push here. And really, Chamber's been alone on B for a while. We haven't seen any form of rotation. We can see Fade already making their way back. And I think, this attacking squad is just a little unsure of how they want to present here.
When you've lost your initiator in round one and in round two of this half, that's half of your initiating power gone, and you've just used the rest of it essentially on that A site with nothing to work with. Bane, thankfully for the side here of Penn Trafford, uses TP and isolates themselves. Quickly cleared away, but there's still a nice defense ready and waiting on this B site. Zalati is good for one, make it two, and there goes that spike denial. This round will be won by the side here of Greater Altoona, as Zalati even secures their third to end things off out of their doppelganger of Pillow. 8-6 our score, and Greater Altoona looked quite solid for the pistol and their bonus, but now the rifle should start to come out for Penn Trafford.
Yeah, Penn Trafford actually had a couple nice plays there toward the end of that round. Unfortunately, with 10 seconds remaining, they had to just jump out, force themselves onto site, and try to find the spike. Great cross-firing placement from Greater Altoona, their elbow and Cubby, so able to secure and kill that planner. And really, again, I think if Penn had maybe just a little more time, things could have went differently. But certainly this all buy round here, this fourth round, will be a big one for them, and they're going to need to start to put some rounds together. They don't want Greater Altoona to get away here with this one. Claw now portaling back as all the pressure begins to kind of go toward that B site. But right now, 3 defending on the A, and we'll see if they can find a push.
Judge at hand for Snarf inside Hookah. I mean, he's going to toss the paint shell trying to keep them at bay, but there goes Snarf just extending past it, not scared whatsoever of the explosions behind them. Knows the saying, cool guys don't look at explosions, tries to take it to heart, and unfortunately, the only thing they'll take to heart is a couple bullets as the Hello manages to bury them quickly. Zlati managed to find a Spectre kill on site, a little bit of a breathing room for Greater Altoona, but the spike has been placed, and Quarter has extended towards Hall to find themselves and secure a kill. Zlati, the last player left standing, it does deal with Pillow once again. Able to trade out their Spectre for a Vandal, but it has no ammo and its mag forced to reload. Has to change it out. Slays Quarter, but can't find a Hello. A 3K for a 3K, as you'll see Penn Trafford win this round out.
Yeah, that was some dirty shooting there as well. Unfortunately, picking up that Vandal, reloading with just 6 rounds, ended up taking a lot of damage during that battle. So we will see Penn Trafford go ahead and clutch up a much needed round here. As you had mentioned, they lost a lot of members, though, there during that battle. So the economy not really there. They're going to force up into the rifles, but again, the armor's not there. And honestly, I'm not really hip to this kind of half Spectre buy coming out from Greater Altoona.
I mean, sometimes you feel you can still win a round result, especially if you feel you've been dominant already in the half, but it's too soon to feel that dominance, Hot Sauce. It's too soon to feel like you're in a good position for the half. That was only the pistol and the bonus that are guaranteed to you once you take the first. I think I have to agree. It's a bit of an over expenditure. Bane's trying to hold up close, though. Maybe this is the play to go with, but they have a raise that you don't. They'll boost back past your presence. Not looking the right direction, though, as you're undoing the bane of your existence. It's now down to the 1v1. Yoshiono in a good spot in the back aside, finally there to possibly assist, but it's a little too late for the rest of the team. Pillow is the last player left standing for the side of Penn Trafford. They'll send out the Prowler deep towards site, controlling the full way. Nobody spotted, nothing being tagged. Yoshiono not known to be within tube. Hunt could be tossed. It is available, and another Prowler is there as well. But it's all about buying a little bit of extra time while staying safe as well. TP will be employed as they retreat themselves all the way back over for a safe plant on that A site.
Yeah, Ray should be able to upgrade that weapon on the way out. We'll see here in just a moment. Looks like they did. So now with a Vandal as well is Yoshiono. This plant is going to go down here briefly. Has an idea where they're at, though, and this is going to be the big play right here. Here comes the peak. Spotted slightly before, had the advantage, but it's Pillow who pops the head and tucks him in. Good night, sleep tight, all tied up 8-8 for what I believe is the 5th or 6th time here tonight.
Peeker's advantage is a real thing here, Hot Sauce. And though from our view, looking as the lone defensive player of Yoshiono, they see Pillow first. Pillow had already probably seen them for half a second, and these young blood players, Hot Sauce, they're not missing that opportunity. The reflexes are there. They're quick on a dime, and Pillow comes out clutch. Only 10 HP remaining, a close one at that, but our victory is a victory, and they'll catch back up with 2 in a row. But that still puts their eco in a very poor spot, all things considered. They've lost players in considerable margin every round that they've won. But they'll manage to secure first blood on the player Bane, who thought a Blade Storm would be enough to secure a victory. Denied it just as quick and in a really dramatic way.
M&A will blast on with that Judge, firing through the smoke. Not a lot of damage coming through that way. The plant comes in with ease as well, and the paint shells ring true. Because the Molly is there, but shots again just ringing back and forth through the smoke, trying to alleviate some of that pressure and gather a little bit of damage as well. Zlati out from elbow, looking to find the peak. M&A tucked behind the box as well, and Pillow waiting just on the other side of the smoke. Zlati has an idea. We see the ping coming in as Snarf able to secure at least one, and now the pressure from Zlati. The blind, a big one. Zlati finds one. Quarter on the trade. M&A will get one as well. And Omen, Snarf all alone. Quarter with a 4K, the quadra kill, and a big round for Penn Trafford.
That's where you need Quarter to be popping off and in dramatic fashion. Zlati is the player for Greater Altoona. Quarter is the player for the side of Penn Trafford. You need the big man up front. You need your initiator to not just initiate for themselves, which is even easier considering the slight changes in buffs and slight nerfs in some ways to the Skies kit. You can also engage yourself and your teammates. You have 2 initiators. Let Pillow do the initiating for the whole squad. Initiate for yourself and send it. Go to town. And they have been a 20 bomb already, joining Zlati on that feed and securing a round win and a big one at that for the side of Penn Trafford. Much needed. They'll reach 9, 1 away from double digits, and that just buries the odds even further as things can start to escalate in their favor with that big and bad momentum breathing down the throats of Greater Altoona.
Yeah, 20 bomb on both sides, but again, we see kind of this scrap buy coming out. We see some Spectres, some Stingers, M&A blasting in, fearlessly able to find one. Yoshiono finds a trade and quarter right back at him now in a 4v3. The player advantage here as Gunzer finds the spike, the tour to force as well, and Unhello, again, another one with the Spectre. A little bit of a surprise there. The spray coming toward heaven. Gonna have to reload. Claw with a headhunter, but it's Quarter who switches to the classic and sends him packing.
The headhunter's gonna find the head there, Claw. Sorry to break it to you. Quarter can do it with a classic instead, a much cheaper alternative considering you're starting with it. It's free. Why? Might as well use it, Hot Sauce. And it works to their advantage. When Quarter is popping off on all cylinders, Penn Trafford to pop off on all cylinders. Every round that Quarter has been good. They have won. Rounds 1 and 2 of the second half. Well, what happened? Quarter dies first and foremost, and the whole team gets wiped. That's not what you want to see. Greater Altoona need to pick off Quarter first. They need to start to engage that player because Quarter is becoming a raid boss. They're becoming too powerful at this point, and they must be stopped. They'll take down their kind of initiator doppelganger there of the Fade on the side, aka Pillow for Penn Trafford. But that's only 1 kill netted, and Quarter is still lagging behind all by themselves in Shower towards the A site.
Yeah, good early pick here from Claw, but again, the initiator difference here, and it's going to show. Quarter with a nice flash. Could potentially draw some people back that way, but it doesn't, as we see the ult coming in, and now the rotation coming in from Greater Altoona, and with this, the pressure should come onto the B site. Fairly easy plan, as well as Quarter is looking absolutely unstoppable. The peak is here. The headshot yet again, and he's looking for more. Claw finally able to extinguish the flame. That is Sky. It's just Quarter absolutely relentless. The spike planted on B, and now Omen is going to have to wait for that help to come in, but they are certainly in a tough position and have a tough retake here ahead of them.
That's the hardest role a player can play on this map of Bind, being the lone player, the straggler on an opposing site, having to net a kill to force the players off of the other objective. Quarter is the toughest role, and they should rename themselves to Dime because I'm giving them a 10 out of 10 on that role. They're doing a fabulous job. And he's going to quickly use their boost pack to extend outwards. Claw and Starford there to kind of cut them down, but a player and Elbow, maybe they're unaware, they're flanking back towards Cubby. They'll have to take the shots. Gunzer comes up clutch right when you need them, much like they did in the first half, and it will be going 11-8. Our scoreline as Penn Trafford close in on that ultimate 13 needed rounds to close out the map of Bind.
Yeah, I mean, great poise by Claw there to at least get the spike halfway. I thought he was going to have that shot there just a little bit low on that crosshair placement. Gunzer able to secure the kill and the round, up by 3 here as we are 1 away from match point. And again, though, I think it really boils down to these last 4 or 5 rounds where we've seen Greater Altoona fighting these half armors, these Spectres, partial Vandals, partial SMGs. They're really not full buying collectively together as a round, and it just puts them at a little bit of a deposition, you know, round after round here.
It's all about finding the impact where necessary, and what we're seeing here, a notable absence of the lone straggler on an opposing site. Instead, they feel they've got the momentum, they've got the gun advantage, at least they feel they would in terms of the eco, and they've got the ultimate advantage, pushing towards the site. Nightfall goes out. They're able to secure that B objective for now, but 2 players inside of Elbow makes things difficult. Thane collects for a 2K. Snarf sends themselves decently out as well. It's an easy cleanup for the side of Greater Altoona. They just slaughter them where they lie on site. No way for them to survive to get set up for the post plant. They won't even escape the majority area where the spike was planted.
Yeah, I mean, that's crazy. Complete opposite of what we've seen in these last few rounds. And I believe that only one of a couple rounds, that they've taken here in the latter half. And we saw 5 in a row coming out from Penn Trafford. So really, Greater Altoona having to buckle down here if they don't want this one to go into overtime. They can't afford to even give up another single round. So we see the full buys coming out. The economy is still there for the most part for Penn Trafford. We might have one member. Oh, no, it looks like a couple are going to struggle here just a little bit.
I mean, there are an occasion where players will buy up to a degree to maybe even out the odds for the economy. Maybe that's what we're seeing for Penn Trafford. They even out the top players with the biggest eco, the biggest wallet, so to say. They'll full buy up and have their secondary players go for the up-close and personal stingers. They did receive a slight buff in recent memory That means maybe they're a little bit more deadly, but much like a bee, you'll sting once, typically you'll die quickly afterwards, as you just don't have the range potential and the limited ammo in that clip. Once it fires, it's gone, and the reload is quite a fickle mistress as well. Looks like a quick sprint over towards the A site, though, will spell disaster for the side of Greater Altoona. They're not able to deal with it, and Quarter has already found that first blood on site.
Yeah, Gunzer's going to find the plant as well. They have the player advantage. We can see the rotation coming in to near heaven as well. And M&A here with this judge looking to peek off the teammate with Sky. We'll see that pressure come in. Claw is going to have a tough fight here. We'll find one. Flicks to the knife, and that is going to spell trouble. M&A with that judge does exactly that. Judges him down. Pillow finds the sweet cold spot. Lays one to rest here now on a 2v2. M&A trying to draw some attention. Here's the spike. What a shot! Tag team back again. Whoop! There it is. Penn Trafford absolutely popping heads and getting bread. We are sitting at match point.
Pillow had to do the dirty work right there at the end. Full HP player needed to be cut down. They'd be successful in that margin. All M&E needed to did was secure the kill into Snarf, who was down to 6-7 HP at its best. A single shot would finish the job, and they needed to do so to make sure that their player lagging behind over towards Crate would survive. First jump pixel peak, they didn't spot much, maybe the barrel of the gun if they're a keen and observant player. I think they were able to give enough intel over to their teammates, hiding behind boxes to secure their life for the time being. Roomba sent by the side here, Greater Altoona to maybe trying to force a player out over towards Showers. Paint shells to join. There goes the Tasmanian Tiger, and Quarters looking to engage off the back of it. They'll extend quite quickly. Get Guiding Light to follow through, but a mini finishes off Yoshiono to get that first blood. And now it's all side control for the side of Penn Trafford. They are looking to send this out with a 13-9 scoreline. 2-player disadvantage for Greater Altoona here, Hot Sauce.
Yeah, trying to pressure in. We can see Claw from the spawn here. Bane will find one, however. Now the trade. Claw's going to get one on the Gunzer, who found Fade. Still the player advantage in the favor of Penn. And we can see Quarter tucked into the corner. So hard to deal with is Claw alone in the 3v1. Time is ticking away as well. And there just really isn't enough time for Claw. We'll see if he can somehow manage the unthinkable. Hello, there he is. And that'll be the game. Penn Trafford will remain undefeated as they go 2-0 on the season against the tough Greater Altoona CTC, who falls here on Bind. And certainly a much closer match. And what a performance it was. Hats off to both teams.
Quarter. I'll call him a dime as much as needed to. A 10 out of 10 on that map. Gorgeous all throughout the entire game. A little bit trouble, a little bit, tumultuous to start things off the second half, dying first for 2 in a row. But past that was essentially uncontested, a dominant force to be reckoned with. Ended that game 28-15 with 6 assists. How can you show such a performance and not give a man of the match to Quarter through and through? Even in that last round there, Hot Sauce, where you saw Quarter engages quickly through Showers, try to take Yoshiono off the board, take him down for the count, try to KO them quickly. They don't find that kill, but there's no way it would have been found by the player of Imini as fast as it was without Quarter's push, without the Guiding Light, without the Tasmanian Tiger. They're opening and creating space. They're playing at all fronts. They're definitely the man of the match in my mind.
Yeah, I have to agree. I mean, 7 first bloods alone. We see it there, 28, 15, and 6 with that average combat score of 367. Just an absolute juggernaut, a raid boss indeed. We talked about, I said I love Sky on this map. She's so good on this map, even on defense, holding down that B long. Just the intel that you get from the flash, and then it's so hard to push. They create so much pressure as well on the attacking side, constantly being blind, combined with the brim smokes as they pressure on the site. And honestly, it was just a little too much for Greater Altoona CTC to handle. Greater Altoona did phenomenally on the attacking side, but we talked about that initiator difference, and we saw it here firsthand. Hats off again to both teams. They played very, very well. But again, Penn Trafford looking like the team to beat right now, going to remain undefeated here on top, and just an absolutely solid performance here by the whole crew. Gunzer, hello, M&A, and Pillow. But certainly have to agree with you, hands down, without a question, Quarter MVP and man of the match, man of the day.
Man of the day, for sure. That was the best performance we've seen throughout the day today, but eventually the day has to end as well, and unfortunately, that is the curtain calling at this point. Recap for the day, we had our first game of that night was Winver versus Westmont Hilltop. And the scoreline dominant over the other 13-1, I think was the final score there, Hot Sauce?
Yes. Yep. Yeah,
13-1.
13-1, and Reina had an ace in that one from Winber. I
Ugh.
mean, they really just dominated on Icebox. So, a great performance on Icebox. We see a lot of Icebox here. So it was nice to mix it up there. Game number 2 being on Bind, but yeah, certainly a great day of Valorant, and I look forward to the next Tech High School series here, Division 1 or 2.
Yeah. So we're excited. We'll send everybody on out of here. Thank you guys very much for watching, and we can't wait to see if Penn Trafford will secure themselves a flawless game or if they'll unfortunately fall next week. Stay tuned for more here from Tech.